Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm not going to be doing a lightning round this episode, but I do want to start with the pretense that I'm in a bit of a time crunch at the moment. I ate about half of my lunch. I have something out of an appointment I need to get to in roughly an hour or so. And I wanted to get this done before that appointment because I don't know if I'll be doing it after the appointment. So, with all that in mind, I'm going to be giving shorter answers, but I still expect this to be, around a normal length. I'm just saying I'm going to probably rush through a little bit, especially near the end. So I wanted to start with that pretense that that's the reason and what to expect. That being said, while I would like to do an announcement section, I want to get started with the Q&A. So thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to. They choose to, and I love them for it, but all my content is available for free here on YouTube or live streamed over on Twitch, so enjoy it, and thanks to our sponsors over there. You have the usual discount links, all that stuff in the description as well. Whatever sponsors we have at the time, always give that a look, because supporting the sponsors supports the channel as well. Anyway, let's get to the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello, happy guy. Hello. Had a conversation recently with some friends how the Endwalker dissolved, how at the end of Endwalker they dissolved the Scions only to have them all come back together for the Void Quest. That originally happened before the patch quest. I was certain they would be sidelining the Scions to make room for new companions. I know we've been told that at least one returning character will be a major focus of the upcoming story. Also certain that characters like Graha won't be sidelined so soon, but my question for you is, would you like a largely new cast for the next big arc, or would you rather keep most of our current cast with just a couple of additions? I want them to come in and out of the story. Like, we've been kind of bringing some Scions in for some parts and leaving other Scions out for other parts, whereas like the core party is basically like Estinian. Like he's kind of like the main Scion that we're dealing with, and Y'shtola as well. But like the other ones have been like brought in temporarily or momentarily and then brought back out. And I'm okay with them doing that because that still leaves us room to have new companions. Obviously we have Zero now, and I suspect we'll probably get another new companion. We also know that Kryl is likely to be returning in a more combat-focused capacity going into the expansion, hoping that's a teaser at the fact that we're getting a new caster job in the expansion. But either way, I'm impartial. All that really matters to me is that the story itself is something I enjoy. How the characters enter, exit, whatever, isn't that big of a deal for me. I just don't want any more fake out deaths. If you're gonna kill someone, kill someone. That's it. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hey Haps, hi, hope you're doing well. Other than the time rush, I am, thank you. I keep hearing people say that we know the next big trial is going to be Golbez because they showed it. Thing is, as far as I'm aware, they don't tend to usually tell us what the trial will be. Well, it's not a usually. Normally what they'll do is they'll keep certain trials a secret, usually the 0.3 patch. But because the 0.3 patch was not the finale of the story, they told us the main reason they kept them a secret was they didn't want us knowing the order we were going to get the four lords in, or for it to not be as obvious. They didn't want to show or tease. They wanted there to be some level of surprise. But they even said it during the live letter. There's no more secrets to keep at this point. There's no more guessing. Everyone's already figured it out. So they already know that they might as well just tell us. The fact that they showed Golbez directly this time makes me think it won't be Golbez. It'll be Golbez. I mean, they straight up said pretty much that it'll be exactly who we think it'll be. And that's why they're showing it. I mean, they even laughed about how they're like, oh, it's going to be question mark, question mark, question mark. Ah, gotcha. No, it's Golbez. They pretty much outright said that. So no, it's going to be. Now, that's not to say that Golbez can't have some sort of twist or turn like we had with Rubicante and Barbaricha. But we at the very least know that at its core, he is the target. So that's what to expect. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello. Hello back to you. What is your favorite mechanic thematic-wise? For me, it's Omega's Pantocrator because it just gives up aiming and instead chooses to fire all of its weapons in every direction at once. I'm a big fan. My static reached Ultimate Annihilation recently, so wishing you luck. Funnily enough, Ultimate Annihilation in Uwu, congratulations by the way, one of my favorite mechanics. I love uptime mechanics with lots of tight movements where you need to keep damage going the entire time while still doing healing, while still doing any sort of responsibility specific to your role. And I feel like Ultimate Annihilation is like, it's not too hard, it's not easy, but it's something that's like kind of like beautiful to see it come together, all while still having to deal with the boss. And so that type of mechanic definitely is more what I lean towards in terms of interest. Hashtag Mrhappy Afternoon Sundays. Correct. Que paso, Kelbasa? I don't think that means happy Mr. Happy Monday or hello. I don't know. Been a long time since I played 2019. I just came back and thoroughly surprised how much PvP has been popping off. One of the reasons I left since I really enjoyed 14 PvP. Anyway, my question, I heard you talk about Armored Core in your last weekly Q&A. Which one was your favorite? Personally, AC2. I'm a big fan of AC3, and I have not played the updated version of 5, which would be Verdict Day. So for me, 4 Answer has to take the cake. I always 3 will always have a special place in my heart, but 4 Answer for me is the best overall experience, and I'm hoping to get something like that, or I guess something close to Verdict Day too. Like, I haven't played Verdict Day, but I've watched a lot of Verdict Day, and I'm hoping for an experience somewhere in that range with Armored Core 6. Hashtag, oh, happy day, mister. Works for me. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Howdy do, Happy. Hi. Hope all's been well. Doing all right. I was the guy that listened to all the arrangement albums and asked you your favorite remixes. Since you highly recommended Record Keeper's Aloha, I'm recording and I'm on limited time. There's food in your... Where are you? Aloha? What are you doing? You hear this cat? Aloha. The food is literally... There's 2 bowls. There's one there and there's one there. All right? There. You found that one? Good. He found it. He didn't want to go to the bowl on the other side of the room. Anyway, it seems like Square Enix has nuked most uploads. Yeah, you have to buy Record Keeper's music or import it from Japan on iTunes, so it's a heck of a time. Completely unrelated, I have a question about 14 raids as a non-raider looking in. I've been enjoying seeing more dual boss fights appearing in casual content like Hansel and Gretel, Lion and Meme Knees, and Althic and Nemea. It also makes perfect sense for Ultimate as it lets them stick even more bosses and mechanics in there, but as a non-raider, I thought it made a lot of sense for difficult raids to have more of these duo fights. Since 2 bosses is more than 1 boss, 2 bosses equals harder, is the first thing my casual brain thinks. Definitely not the case, looking at E6S in particular. Surprised to me there aren't more difficult raids where 2 bosses have to be tanked simultaneously. In the most difficult of raids, how many bosses there are doesn't change doing the fight. Because at the end of the day, the fight will give you a series of mechanics and you will have to do them correctly. Doesn't matter if there's 1 boss, 2 boss, 8 bosses. All that matters is there will be a puzzle and there will be a solution. What does change is your optimal DPS rotation, and that can be better or worse depending on jobs, because some jobs do horribly in 2 target situations and other jobs are monsters. So what it actually does is it creates job favoritism due to certain phases. Now, that's something even with that, a lot of people don't care, but it does happen. So that's at the end of the day, it doesn't create anything instantly more difficult because it's just a mechanic is a mechanic at the end of the day. Hashtag happy Mondays with Mr. What's up, Paps? Hello. Hope everything is going fantastic. Working on that move. I already said it before. Everything behind me that's there is pretty much not mine, so that part of the move. I've also emptied out all my drawers. All that's left is what's on my desk, what I have for like toiletries in the bathroom, and like a couple of other belongings, and I'm pretty much set. Aloha. What are you doing? I hear you. No, I'm not coming in the living room. Hello, I was trying to... He's like, oh, you have limited time? Let me make this not a... You're going to hear Aloha meowing a bit. Oh, man. I know it's still a year and a half away, but what job would you like to see added? I mean, I'll always have points in for Puppet Master and Geomaster. Or Geomancer, sorry. Aloha's distracting me. Hi, buddy. Yeah, Geomancer and Puppet Master will always be at the top of my list. What do you think if they did a Kingdom Hearts crossover? No. Especially no Kingdom Hearts crossovers. Now, I only don't really like Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, I'm not crazy about like Melody of Memories or 358/2, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is really my only major disappointment in Kingdom Hearts. Everything else is just I either like or I don't like. Aloha, stop, man. Why are you throwing a huge fit? It's not playtime. It's not nap time. It's you eat your lunchtime and I record this time. Come on now. Why are you being a dingus right now? But Kingdom Hearts, dude, the mouse, I just don't ever want the mouse coming near the things I love. That's all it really comes down to. I don't want Mickey Mouse anywhere near anything. It's like a huge liability. So I especially never want Kingdom Hearts related stuff. I want it to just be its own universe. Hashtag Mr. Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. First time asking. Welcome. How do you think Asinian's character arc has been going since he joined the Scions? Well, he has a character arc, is the biggest difference. Before he was like, Unga Bunga, I am Dragoon, this is what I do. And then he went away for a while and came back and was actually a character. So, yeah, I'd say it's been pretty good for him so far. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. If you were to add a new roulette into the game, what would it be? Well, it needs to be on content that exists. Once all the variants are out, variant roulette, easy. Because variants and criterion just need more reward structure, and quite frankly that. And honestly, anything that isn't in a roulette, a deep dungeon roulette even, like, I know that's not a simple thing to do. That's not something you can even really achieve with the way that they're made. But you understand what I mean, right? Like, just things that are not in roulettes. Rival Wings is another thing that does, at the very least, Rival Wings, your first match a day, should have a bonus. Even if it's not a roulette. I mean, that's basically what a roulette achieves anyway. So, yeah, it's anything that doesn't have one. But for me, variant eventually would be the one that I'll want. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Love your content. Thanks. I have a two-part question. Okie dokie. Any idea how many expansions we will realistically get within Yoshi P's 10-year roadmap? 4 at most. It'll end on a 4th one. If everything goes as we should expect it to go, could be 3, but 4 would be my guess. 2, between updated graphics and them pushing the game into the future, any guesses on when they'll remove support for PS4? Not till 8.0 at the earliest. So got at least another, 3.5, 4 years approximately. They won't stop supporting the PS4 until their data showcases that the number of people still using it is an incredibly small percentage of the player base. Last they updated us, I don't remember when that was, a very large percentage of people still played on PS4. So as long as that's the case, it won't stop. They may not get some new features, but the PS4 is a stronger piece of hardware than the PS3 was. So keeping it playable on the PS4 is much easier than it was to keep things playable on the PS3. So it will be a very long time, minimum 4 years from now. Unless, you know what? I mean, no, wait, they still said, I think it was even in a recent interview, they said that the PS4 was still planned to be supported in 7.0. And I think they said it a while ago, like when they were first doing like post-Endwalker stuff. But yeah, no, it's going to be a long, long time. Hashtag Mr. Happy Sundays. Hey, that's for me. Hey, Haps. Hi, how's it going? It's going all right. Bit late in the week, so make this question. No, you made it. You made it already. Yeah, no, I don't record these till Sunday afternoon. So as long as it's like before noon on Sunday, you're pretty much guaranteed to have it in. Unless it's a question I don't want to include. I was thinking about what you said multiple times before as to female Hrothgar being the last time they'll ever make a new race, but then I remember they plan on changing the new player experience. It made me think maybe Imperial could be... No. They're done. They're done with the race. Like, here's the thing. I guess you could argue that technically they could make it a variant on regular, but you got to remember that even the Garleans are not all rigged to be identical to Hurs. So I don't think that's a realistic expectation. It's also barely a race. It's not 1-to-1. They're Hurs with the eye. That's the only difference. It wouldn't even be a race. So it's like, I don't know. There's no reason to expect that they'll do it though. That much I'll say. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I'm a big fan of Hunt's S and A ranks, but I think B ranks are boring and don't really see the point. I can tell you the point. Free teleport tickets. Every week. Also, they're not bad if you're just trying to collect the seals. It's 100 seals, and there's nothing wrong with that. When change, I would like to turn B ranks into a weekly 1v1 monster duel. No, it's never going to happen. It's literally, you're asking for the B ranks to have more work than the A and the S ranks, so I can tell you that's never going to happen. I love the concept of Boja duels, but they are just so difficult to access that it's not that bad anymore. It's not great, but it's not that bad anymore. I've been in so many of them. Trust me when I say it's not nearly as bad as you're telling yourself it is. Let's see. I feel compelled to red mage cheese it instead of beating it properly. Having access to weekly Boja-like duels whenever sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, but if they were going to do that, they wouldn't do it. Because here's the big thing. If there was 1, 2, or maybe at most 3 B ranks across the entire game, not per expansion, the entire game, maybe you would get that. They will never do it for all of the B ranks, nor are they likely to do it in the future. They will have to put the equivalent dev time of the dev time that was required for the Bozja duels into these. Oh my goodness, Aloha. Why are you throwing a fit, my man? It's not nap time. He's never been like this at this time. He's just throwing a fit right now because he thinks I'm talking to him. It's not even remotely close to being a real... And then with scalable difficulty, no, that's especially never going to happen. The amount of dev work for something like that, it's not that it's not feasible in engine, it's not feasible as an idea without adding considerable resources to this specific type of content. We would have to lose another type of content to get something like this. So like, for example, maybe next expansion, let's say they don't do Bozja. Let's just say they only do these duels. In terms of, and let me rephrase, in terms of boss development, you know, actual encounter development, the number of B ranks, again, is too high to ever, and then to do scaling difficulties, at most you'd have two. You'd have normal and savage. That would be it. You would not have like easy, normal, hard, savage, ultra. Like, you would never have that. It's, again, it's, you're asking for a lot, and a lot of it doesn't make sense to ever expect from the dev team, nor does it make sense within Final Fantasy XIV's content structure to expect. So, not a bad idea necessarily, but not a realistic one. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there, Haps. Hi, you doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I have two short questions, one for fighting games. I am not the right person to ask about fighting games, and it's been happening a lot lately. I'm interested to hear you talk about your relationship with fighting games as someone that comes from the FGC as 14 as... Man, there's just been a lot of FGC-related questions. Here's my question. With Street Fighter 6, which character or characters are you most interested in playing? I'm not playing it. A, it's right around the corner from Final Fantasy 16. B, the demo for 16 is probably releasing at the same time. C, Diablo 4, if I was going to make time, would be the game that would get my attention at that point in time. And D, I am free as fuck. I don't play fighting games because I'm not good at them. Well, to be fair, I don't know if I'm good at them. I don't play them under the pretense that I wouldn't be good at them because I don't want to put in the time to get good at them because I'm focused on other things. So... it'll be a great watch for competitive, which is what I love fighting games for, but I will not be touching it. For Final Fantasy XIV, what's the deal with that hugging couple in the gold saucer? They're just having a good time. That's it. That's the explanation. They're just living life, loving life. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hey, howdy. Hey, Haps. Hello. Had a ninja question. Haven't played it a lot recently, but let's give it a look. Recently, I discovered that Bunshin let me do 2 forked fleeting Raijus, and trying to get a better burst, I would use Kasatsu to give me an extra ride ton for an extra stack of ride. Friends said I'm losing DPS because Hyosho Ranryu does way more. You're not no, never use anything but Hyosho with Kasatsu. That is your be all end all best. You never do that. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Hyosho is fucking like 6 times stronger than it's not actually 6 times stronger. It's like 2.5 times stronger than everything else. The potency you get from Bunshin is, well, actually, I have to double check this, is like flat based on if it's single target, AoE, or ranged, I think are the 3 different potency calculations that it has. It's not like you get a double Raiju and you do double the potency. You're doing whatever the flat amount that's added from Bunshin is. Hyosho is massive potency-wise. You cannot give that up. Please go back to using Hyosho. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good day. Hey. Good day to you too. You mentioned in this video that 11 is more likely to become a single player experience than receiving the A Realm Reborn treatment. As I'm well, I mean, it's already single player. What I mean is an actual single player game and not like the way it is now. Because you can basically do all of 11 single player now anyway. I'd like to ask myself what you think would be necessary changes to turn 11 into a decent... Okay, so we are on the same wavelength. Okay. My impression is so far that 11 is an excellent RPG story buried under a mountain of MMO-ness. It's not buried under a mountain of MMO-ness. It's buried under a mountain of Final Fantasy XI-ness. There are plenty of MMOs that are not buried under MMO. I mean, even 14 isn't buried under MMO-ness other than being an MMO in the first place. Like, most of it you can do alone. 11 is largely the same. What it's buried under is 21 years of being a PS2 game. And that's really the core of it. I think you would fundamentally want to start over with 11 as a single player game. I wouldn't just try to preserve the exact same experience. In my head, it's Final Fantasy 12. You make Final Fantasy 11's story, you make its areas, you make its world, but you make it like Final Fantasy 12. And you have something that's relatively close to the original experience. I mean, a lot of 12 stuff is based on 11. The problem is the volume of stuff at that point. Like, I'm not saying you need Dynamis, Limbus, Salvage, like all the endgame activities. You need a few of them. And they need to be like remade for a single player game. It's not an easy task. It's not a task we should expect, but it's a task they should consider. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey there, Haps. Hi. Hope the move is going well. Almost done. I am also moving, so I feel your pain. I don't wish it upon my worst enemies. I feel my question from last week wasn't really understood. I don't even remember what it was. I don't blame you as I tend to talk a lot, so keep it short and sweet. I was wondering what your opinion was on the idea of not having a carbuncle pet at all if they did eventually give more moves to him. If they didn't eventually get... Okay, yeah. Leaving only the carbuncles that eventually get replaced by eggies. It's not a popular opinion. I think it's good enough to have carbuncles around just for the sake of glam. And the hope that they add some sort of glam to it. At the very least for having it around in cities. And I think, honestly, given carbuncle does pretty much nothing except for the shield, they might as well just go down that route anyway. Because they'll make summoners happy by just having them being able to have a unique pet that they can have and chill and take screenshots with. It's more valuable for that than it is for the shield. You know what I mean? What was one change in the world from 1.0 to 2.0 that really wowed you? Corthus being covered in snow. It's not snowy at all in 1.0. It's like the most jarring change by far is Corthus being covered in snow. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Lollyho, Haps. Lollyho. Got an interesting question about MMORPGs as a whole. Okay. Notice that the majority of MMORPG players tend to be in the age range of anywhere between early 20s and late 40s. That's a big range. That's like 30 years. There were attempts to appeal to a younger audience back in the day, like Free Realms is an old example. But my question is, what do you believe would happen in order to revitalize and pave the way for future generations in this genre? Okay. My opinion on this is people need to stop thinking that a new way needs to be paved. Games that are modern, that are updated, that are a collective addition of things we've learned in game development, game design, etc. over the last 20 years are all good things. You do not need to worry about alienating us old heads because there are so many options. I think what people think when they think the MMO genre needs to, quote, be redefined or be... I'm not saying that's what you think, but that's what I think when a lot of people say this. When they need it to be revitalized, reborn, pun intended, whatever. They think they need to have those like monolith games that are just, they're just over everything. They think like, oh, EverQuest had a huge community. Final Fantasy 11 had a huge community. WoW had a huge community. They think of those like certain pillars of the MMO world as what made the MMO world big. Not thinking about the volume of MMOs now and everyone just going in the direction of things they enjoy. And a lot of games surviving on smaller player bases that don't need to be these massive multi-million World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King style, whatever. I don't think the genre needs to necessarily be revitalized. What we need to see is companies continuing to take steps forward that are based on lessons learned. Because as long as players feel like they have a home, an MMO home, or that they can identify with one, that should be the only factor that really matters. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. The cats are doing great, except for Aloha, who's finally laying down for his afternoon nap. Question about preparing for 6.4's new crafted combat gear and wanted to get your thoughts on markets. I feel like I answered this question last week, which... Well, I was going to say I don't expect you to know every answer, but it's a little weird. Was it last week? It might not have been. I feel like I've answered it recently. Either way, it doesn't matter. I do this all the time. I'll be taking P9 to P12. Will not be taking P9 to P12S upon its release. Do you think it's worth to save a bunch of combat materia to sell? Yes. Even numbered patch combat materia sales. Grade 10s are easy to sell because most players buy them. And a lot of players just don't have stock of them. They go out, they buy them when a new patch comes. They don't like farm hunts or like hoard them. Like they just don't. A lot of people don't. But the real money's in grade 9s on day 1. because us overmelders, we tend to go a little ham. I usually have enough saved up that I don't need to buy any grade 9s, but a lot of people buy grade 9s. So yes, definitely make some cash on that day 1 combat material. Hell, they'll be good money for a while, but that day 1, especially on those grade 9s, it's really the purchasing volume also that gives you strength, because those people who are buying it are people who will then begin selling excess when they don't need any more. And they'll be selling it for less because then a bunch of other people will do it. So there's way more demand than supply normally until about a week later, and then it levels out. And then it's still money, but it's not as good money. It shouldn't be that much of a difference for the grade 9s, but a noticeable difference. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays, but sometimes Sundays, maybe. Maybe. Hello and great tidings. I bid you hello as well. Asked a question about T phases the other week, and now we're on phase 4 and likely to clear. Nice. That being said, this is my first ultimate and some of the most fun I've had in game. My question is, how do the other ultimates compare to T in terms of difficulty? What makes each of them uniquely difficult? I'd love to run DSR or top, but might settle for running the older ones. I would highly advise running Uwu and Ukab before running top or DSR. I think T, having now done it with a bunch of different groups, it's probably the ultimate I've done the most, other than Uwu on release when I was doing it weekly. I guess T is the one I've done the most with different groups. And I think it is the best balance of difficulty and fun. Like, I genuinely think it's like the perfect smack dab in the middle of the ultimate sandwich. UCOB can drag a little bit and lose some of its fun. Uwu's a little too easy. And DSR and top are so mechanically difficult for 2 completely different reasons that you either love them or hate them. So they're so polar that I don't feel like I can say that one is definitely more fun, even if I have a preference, you know, just trying to think of it generally speaking. So I think you kind of hit the nail with doing T first, and you're going to find your other ultimates probably less fun for UCOB and Uwu, but you'll probably still enjoy them. And then top and DSR are going to be super particular to you. And so I can't tell you what'll be the best or most fun, but I think you should do the older ones first because DSR and top are quite trying. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. Thanks. Quick question about the Endwalker relics. Currently, we need to hand in 1,500 tomestones of astronomy, but these will be going away in 6.4. So we need to hand in the uncapped Halligan tomestones of causality, or will they require poetics? Causality is most likely. I won't say that's definite. I would look dumb saying that. But it is most likely that it will be causality because poetics are used for not max level stuff most of the time. I'm sure there might be some examples that I'm forgetting of times when they are used for max level stuff, but they're usually not used for max level stuff. So yeah, causality is the most likely adjustment to be made there. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello and hope all is well. Well, I know who's asking this question, and I think you know how well everything's going. The answer is both simultaneously amazing, and I'm super grateful, and please, I want to stop playing Blitzball. So, somewhere in between. Have an odd question and just wanted to get your thoughts and some clarification. I heard you and a lot of people talking about job rotation. Is there a set rotation for each job? I have main Bard and Summoner, but I have a rotation that is comfortable for me, but not actually sure if they do the greatest amount of damage. I only ask because I would hate to try and do some higher end content, get yelled at because I'm not doing the right rotation. So let me start backwards. Most people don't do good damage in endgame. Hell, I take several clears before my damage starts to be considerably better than it should be. Like even when I'm learning a new fight, I am always more head in the mechanics than head in the DPS. And that's why you'll often hear a lot of high-end players say for your first clear, doesn't matter how much damage you did. What matters is you did it correctly and you didn't do the worst imaginable, right? Which is a good place to be. Now, as for your own rotation, yes, there is a new, because we're dealing with numbers here, there's always going to be something that is mathematically best. And all that information is available online, usually through the Balanced Discord. There's some options depending on ping or skill speed or spell speed. So there's not technically only one, but there is always in a given scenario, an absolute best choice to make. And that will always lead to the highest DPS. Well, until you don't crit for 3 minutes straight on one pull and then crit everything in every opener and reopener on the next one. But hey, you know what? Your party died to a mechanic, so you don't get to keep that one. Sorry. All right, there's just a few like really short questions remaining. One was asking an individual mechanic in Abyssos, I think is the most difficult. I don't honestly, so I struggle with a lot of color blindness, and somehow they've been getting worse at making mechanics that are okay for colorblind people. Like they had like a huge streak between like Heaven's Ward and Shadowbringers where it was great. And Endwalker's kind of gone the other way, and some mechanics are just really bad. Dominion in P8S Phase 2, I really struggle to see the like pulsing earth on the ground until the last second, like seeing them as they separate. It's really when too many of them go to one side, they just kind of blend for me. And that sucks. That's happened a lot more. So maybe that's not the most difficult, but I definitely had to overcome personal struggles for what I think is like the easiest mechanic. It's actually the easiest one. But I felt so dumb just looking at it and trying to track it and just losing track of it in the ground and like which way it went, and it was really bad for me in particular. The next one was, as we've gotten Reapers, the battle version of Botanist, they could get a battle version of Fisher. Yeah, sure, why not? You know, that'd be pretty funny, actually. No is the real answer, but I think all of us can hear that, and we can think of like having, you know, like a pull-in mechanic where you just hurl the fishing rod and pull it back. And it's so stupid. It'd be pretty funny, though. Hi, Haps. Do you have any pro players, teams in League, or fighting games you like to follow? So actually, man, I hate bringing it up because it's such depressing news. CLG, you know, the whole organization's basically been dissolved, and Energy is taking the League team. But I met Pew Pew Yu. We were actually both at a convention. It was maybe like 4 in the morning, and we were both headed to the airport. And I think he asked me, or I don't remember if he asked me or I asked him. We were both trying to get like an Uber or a Lyft. And one of us asked the other, like, hey, are you trying to get an Uber or Lyft? Do you have one? Can I split your ride with you? I think I asked him because I swear I remember sending him money because I remember him tweeting about it afterwards that I had basically, as soon as I stepped into the airport, sent him the funds from that. So he was just like, whoa, that's it, like a G move. So Pew Pew Yu, who was a Smash player for CLG until after what happened recently, is a big one. Bjergsen, who just also stepped down from esports altogether. Dyrus was one of the first streamers I ever watched over on owned.tv. So through his competitive career, I followed him a lot. I still tune into his stream occasionally just to see what he's up to, even when he's not playing League. But a lot of the players I was more a fan of in competitive esports have either moved on to more mentor roles or content creation roles that aren't directly competitive. So in the current competitive scene, I mean, there's some great players across a lot of different games, but I wouldn't say there's one I follow anymore. I just catch games whenever they're on for Tekken or Street Fighter or Smash or League or the International whenever that comes around every year for Dota. Like I'll just try to catch events and less individual players. But that was also the last question for this week's Q&A. Like I said, there was just a few small ones left. And with that, I am gonna make my appointment. I have to finish my lunch and then get to my appointment ASAP. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question, put it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon, and be sure to check out whatever sponsored links I have in the description as well. All of those support the stream if you decide to use them, if there are things of interest to you, if there's discounts, whatever, check it out. Anyway, I will see all of you in the next video. And until then, take care.